There are three things Chris Watts regrets most after 7 years in prison. Inmate had to protest against it. Number two, shocked even his therapist. I'm going to tell you something that will change how you see this case forever. I've spent months going through his prison interviews. I've read therapy sessions. I've studied letters to investigators. What the therapist discovered about his mind is disturbing. But before I reveal what's eating him alive in that cell, you need to understand something. Something about people who destroy their own families. Something psychologists don't want you to know. Chris Watts sits in his 6x8 cell every single day. According to his cellmate who smuggled this information out, he follows the same ritual. 5 a.m. He stares at a photo. 6 a.m. He writes in a journal. 7 a.m. He breaks down crying. What's in that photo? What does he write in that journal? The answer reveals his true regrets, and they're not what you think. But let me back up. Let me tell you how he got here. Let me tell you the story that shocked America. The story that proves how well we think we know the people closest to us. How wrong we can be. August 13th, 2018. Frederick, Colorado. A quiet suburb where nothing bad ever happens. Where families barbecue on weekends. Where kids ride bikes in the street. Shanann Watts was 34. Pregnant with her third child. A boy they planned to name Nico. She had two daughters. Bella, 4 years old. Celeste, 3 years old. Everyone called her Cece. Chris, what seemed like the perfect husband. The perfect father. He worked at an oil company. He posted happy family photos on social media. He helped with school lunches. He coached Little League. But here's what nobody knew. Behind that smile was something else. Something dark was growing inside Chris Watts. Something that would destroy everything. Have you ever wondered how well you really know your spouse, your parents, your children? Keep watching, because this story will make you question everything. It started with a coworker, Nicole Kessinger. She was younger, single. She didn't have kids. She didn't have stretch marks. She didn't have morning sickness. She represented freedom to Chris. In June 2018, Chris and Nicole began their affair. Secret meetings, secret phone calls, secret text messages. But affairs happen every day. Most don't end in violence. Most don't end in death. So what made Chris different? What made him cross that line? Prison psychologists have a theory. They call it the narcissistic injury. When someone like Chris realizes their perfect image is cracking, when they realize people might see who they really are, Chris didn't just want out of his marriage. He wanted to erase it. Like it never happened. Like Shanann and the girls never existed. But first, he tried other options. He researched divorce lawyers. He looked up custody arrangements. He calculated child support payments. But every option meant responsibility. Every option meant consequences. And Chris Watts didn't want consequences. He wanted a clean slate. August 11th, 2018. Shanann took the girls to North Carolina. They visited her parents. They went to the beach. They had fun. Normal family vacation stuff. But back in Colorado, Chris was living a different life. He spent the weekend with Nicole. They went to the sand dunes. They talked about their future together. Chris even looked at apartments. For one weekend, Chris got to pretend. Pretend he was single. Pretend he didn't have responsibilities. Pretend he could start over. But Sunday came. Reality came back. Shanann was flying home with the girls. The pretending was over. That Sunday night, something shifted in Chris's mind. Something snapped. Later, he would try to explain it to investigators. But how do you explain the unexplainable? How do you put evil into words? If you're still watching, you're braver than most people. Because what comes next is hard to hear. It's hard to understand. But it's important that you know. It's important that you understand how someone can look so normal on the outside while planning something so horrible on the inside. Monday morning, August 13th. Shanann's flight landed at 2 a.m. A friend drove her home. Chris was waiting. Bella and Cece were asleep upstairs. What happened next, we know from Chris's own confession. But even now, 7 years later, experts debate whether he's telling the truth, whether his story makes sense, whether someone can really just snap like that. According to Chris, they had a conversation about their marriage, about divorce, about custody. He says Shannon got emotional. He says she threatened to take the girls away. He says she said he'd never see them again. Chris claims that's when he lost control. When he put his hands around Shanann's neck. When he squeezed until she stopped breathing. When he ended the life of his pregnant wife and unborn son. But the girls woke up. 4-year-old Bella came downstairs. She saw her mother. She saw what her daddy had done. And she asked the question that haunts investigators to this day. What's wrong with Mommy? Chris Watts faced a choice. Call 911. Confess what he'd done. Face the consequences. Try to save his daughter's innocence. Or eliminate the witnesses. He chose elimination. He loaded Shanann's body into his truck. He woke up Bella and Cece. He told them they were going on a drive. He told them Mommy was sick. He told them lies. The drive to the oil site took 45 minutes. Bella and Cece sat in the back seat. They probably asked questions. They probably wanted to go home. They probably trusted their daddy to keep them safe. But safety was the last thing on Chris's mind. At the oil site, he did the unthinkable. He suffocated his own daughters. 4-year-old Bella. 3-year-old Cece. His own flesh and blood. Then he disposed of their bodies. He threw them into oil tanks. He buried Shannon in a shallow grave. He tried to erase his family, like they never existed. But here's something that will chill you. During that 45-minute drive, while his daughters sat behind him, Chris was texting Nicole Kessinger, planning their future together, acting like nothing had happened. Chris returned home around 6 a.m. He showered. He got dressed. He went to work. He acted normal, like it was just another Monday. But Shannon had an appointment that morning. When she didn't show up, her friend got worried. She called Chris. She went to the house. She called the police. The investigation began immediately. Police interviewed Chris. He played the worried husband, the concerned father. He gave TV interviews. He begged for his family's safe return. I just want them home, he said. I want to see everybody. But investigators weren't fooled. Something about Chris didn't add up. His story changed. His timeline didn't make sense. His emotions seemed fake. They gave him a polygraph test. He failed. Badly. When confronted with the results, Chris finally cracked. He confessed to ending Shanann's life. But he lied about the girls. He blamed Shannon. He said she hurt them. He said he was just protecting them. Nobody believed him. The evidence didn't support his story. The autopsy results proved he was lying. Chris Watts had taken 3 innocent lives, and he was trying to blame his victim. Chris Watts avoided the death penalty by pleading guilty. He was sentenced to 5 life sentences without parole, plus 48 years for unlawful termination of pregnancy, plus 36 years for tampering with evidence. He was transferred to a maximum security prison in Wisconsin for his own protection, because even criminals have a code, and people who hurt children are at the bottom of that code. But the legal process was just the beginning. The real story was just starting, because Chris Watts was about to begin a different kind of sentence, a psychological sentence, a sentence of regret and guilt and memories that won't go away. And that brings us back to those 3 regrets, the 3 things that eat at him every single day in that 6x8 cell. Regret number 3, the lies to Shanann's parents. You might think this is about guilt, about shame, but you'd be wrong. Prison psychologists discovered something disturbing. He regrets the lies because they made him look weak. Even now, it's about his image. Even now, it's about how others see him. This reveals the depth of his narcissism. Even after destroying his family, Chris Watts cares most about his reputation. Comment narcissist if you see the pattern, or broken if you think there's real remorse. Regret number 2. This one shocked his therapist, made her question everything about family killers. It's not the murders themselves. It's that he didn't get to see his daughter's last reactions. He told his therapist, and I quote, "I wonder if they would have forgiven Daddy." The therapist said this was the most chilling thing she'd ever heard, because it shows he still thinks about their fear. With curiosity, not guilt. This isn't remorse. This is something else. Something darker. Something that proves Chris what might be more monster than man. I can barely say this next part out loud. Hit that like button if you want me to continue. Or I'm stopping right here. Regret number 1. His biggest regret isn't the affair itself. It's that Nicole Kessinger testified against him. In his twisted mind, she was supposed to be his ride or die. She was supposed to stand by him. Even after learning what he'd done, he's written 47 letters to her. She's never responded. Not once. The most recent letter, he asked her to visit him for his birthday. She's moved states twice to avoid him, changed her name, started over, trying to escape the nightmare he created. But here's where it gets controversial. Some psychologists argue he's not truly regretful. He's just learning what he should say, learning how to manipulate sympathy. Others believe family killers can develop genuine remorse over time. Chris Watts is serving life in prison without parole, and sources say he's haunted by what he did, living in psychological torment. Recent prison letters show he claims to be a new man and believes God has forgiven him. He's also been writing letters blaming other women for his situation. Every day follows the same routine. Wake up at 5 a.m. Stare at that photo. Write in that journal. Break down crying. Then repeat. Day after day. Year after year. Prison sources say he gets hundreds of letters from women. Women who want to marry him. Women who think they can save him. The psychology behind this is darker than anything we've covered today. He's not the same man who walked into that prison 7 years ago. Prison changes people. Isolation changes people. Guilt changes people. But has it changed Chris Watts for the better? Or has it just made him better at hiding who he really is? I want you to vote in the comments. Type manipulator if you think it's all fake. Broken if you believe the regret is real. Or monster if you think regret doesn't matter. I'll pin the most thoughtful response. If this psychological deep dive shocked you, you need to subscribe. Because next week I'm revealing the 4 warning signs Chris Watts showed before the murders. Signs that everyone missed, including Shanann herself. Here's something that will haunt you. Every day, families like the Watts family go about their normal lives. Having breakfast, going to work, putting kids to bed, never knowing that someone they trust completely is capable of the unthinkable. The scariest monsters aren't the ones in horror movies. They're the ones sleeping next to us, living in our homes, sharing our lives, looking completely normal on the outside while hiding something evil on the inside. This case teaches us that we never really know anyone completely. We never know what someone is truly capable of. And that's the most frightening truth of all. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, you're clearly ready for the darkest true crime psychology. Welcome to the family. I'll see you next week when we dive even deeper into the warning signs everyone missed. Don't forget to subscribe. And please hug your loved ones a little tighter tonight, because you never know when it might be the last time.